Hello and welcome to Me and My Golf TV. You've joined us on our Take Charge tour and you've joined us at the TILEIST Performance Institute.
Yes, and today we're going to be taking me through a physical screen to see if I have any limitations that actually affect my golf swing. Let's take charge of your game.
Okay, so you've joined us here in the gym at the TILEIST Performance Institute. Right, now, the screen, the dreaded screen maybe for Andy. He's been shaking a little bit outside here.
So that's right. So what we got to do now is we got to take you through a physical assessment screen. So what I need to know as an instructor is I want to know what you're physically capable of so that when we start looking at your golf swing outside, we can look if there's a body swing connection. So what I'm always looking for is your golf swing the way it is because of the way your body is moving? Are you struggling with something in your golf swing because of the way your body is moving? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take you through a couple tests and show you a few things, right? So you can notice on the ground here we've got a couple of lines drawn on the ground, and this basically represents a 60-degree angle right here or thereabouts. It doesn't have to be quite exact. Now I've got this on the ground, but at home if you want to try this, get yourself a 6-iron. The lying angle on a 6-iron is about 62 degrees. Got to be a Titleist 6-iron, of course, just a joke. But basically what you want to do is you want to put that iron down on the ground like this, and you can see that angle almost matches the line I've got on the ground. I'm going to put this one down just so that I've got that line, and it's almost the exact same angle. So what I want to do now is I want to actually check your internal hip rotation. On the backswing, we're turning into our right hip. On the through string, we're turning into our left hip. That's internal hip rotation, and that's essential for a good golf swing. So first thing I'm going to have you do is just follow along with me. What you're going to do here is you're just going to come up to this line. I'm going to put this foot beside here, and we're simply going to turn as far as we can turn, and we should easily be able to pass this angle, and that's a passing grade. So try that for me on this side. So good, we're just going to rotate.
Yeah.
Good. So he is right on this line. He's right on 60, so that would be a passing grade. I'd usually like to see it just a little bit more than that if I could, but that's not too bad. So let's test it on the other side now. So we just flip our 6-iron over, put it here. We can match this with the shaft again. And now we're going to test it again on this side. So when we go on this side, what I'm looking for is, again, I'm looking for a restriction, and he doesn't pass this on this side. So it actually is quite limited. So on this side, I'm looking for 60, 65. I've probably got more 40, 45. So that's not great. So that's a little bit of a limitation on that lead hip. So in the golf swing, we might see some knee issues through impact. It might be difficult for you to clear the hips, and that could cause the arms to take over through the swing. So that's just how my mind is working a little bit now.
It definitely feels tighter that side, much more restricted than the other side. Yeah.
Okay,
interesting, yeah, you always mention that he is tight here and that side, and that's obviously, if anyone's watching and they've got a tightness somewhere, that's actually a really good sign that there's going to be obviously a limitation, which is going to affect the golf swing.
That's right. So we've tested the hip, and we notice a little bit on that side. Let's test the next segment, which would be the thoracic spine. So to do that, we're going to use a chair here, and we're actually going to place the chair right in the middle of this X. So this X is actually a 45-degree angle now, and what I want you to do is just sit on the edge of the chair. Sit on the edge of the chair, and you're just going to put this club across your back here. Just hold on to that club for me. Good. And I'm just going to have you turn as far as you can turn to this side. To the right. Yep, to the right. So that is no problem. He easily passes this 45-degree mark on the ground. Now, if you try this at home, you might only get to somewhere like here, which again, that tells me that there's a restriction with your thoracic spine. And if you're trying to turn in your golf swing and you've got a restriction in your thoracic spine, then guess what? You might just stand up. You lose your posture in the golf swing, so that's not something we like. You might actually swing very flat as a result. So anytime there's this physical limitation, it can affect your movement pattern. So let's go the other way now.
It's not often that that reduced mobility. You can often it's a common thing, isn't it? A lot of people do it.
It is. A lot of us do it, and just in general life, if you think about it, a lot of us thoracic spine, we lose our posture, we get a little rounded. It's difficult to turn. So that's one I'm definitely looking for. If you're trying to make that big turn in the golf swing to hit the ball a little bit further, we need a good movement in the thoracic spine. So yours moves great. There's no problems with your thoracic spine here. So let me have that back. I'm quite happy with that. Up you get out of the chair. The next one we're going to do is I'm actually going to test a little bit below the hip now. We know that there's a hip restriction. We've tested above it. That's moving good. I'm now going to go a little bit further down. I'm going to test what we call the king of the golf swing, and that are the glutes, your butt muscles. We need to see how those are firing. So I'm going to have you lay down here in front of me. Okay, and I need to bring your feet back a little bit, and now you're going to put your arms straight up, and I need you to lift your butt off the ground. Perfect. And now just extend this leg for me right here. So he's going to extend that leg. Now what I'm really watching for here is any kind of shake or drift of the hip. And you can notice here,
a little bit of movement there.
Ask him to stay for about 10 seconds, and there's a little bit of shaking going on here. We call that a little bit of shake and bake, and that tells me that that glute isn't quite firing the way it is. Now, do you feel it in the glute, the hamstring, or the back here?
A little bit in the hamstring and a little bit in the glute.
Okay, so he's got a little bit of firing in the glute, but the fact that he said I feel some tension in the hamstring tells me that the glute isn't turned on to what I would like it to be, and that could also cause a restriction in that hip as well. Let's try the other leg now. Now, those of you that try this little test at home, be careful, because you might go into a cramp, and that cramp can be very painful. Don't live through that.
I've been
you can
there.
go down.
I've been there.
So you can see this one, there's a big difference here. Notice how solid this is, right? So this is like rock solid. He's not moving here. Again, for 10 seconds, feel it in the glute, the hamstring, or the back.
More glute on this one.
More glute. So again, we're getting that feedback telling me that that glute is firing. This one is a little bit lax, and that could be showing up in the golf
That's totally different. You could lay a spirit level across that, and there's not any movements at all, is there?
He's very
solid.
solid.
The other way around, the left side.
Exactly.
Okay,
so come on up again. Okay, we're going to do a couple more little ones here, and you can follow along with us at home. In fact, we can all try this.
Get on up.
But basically, you're just going to cross your arms across your chest like this. I want to see, can you separate your lower body from your upper body? So your upper body has to stay perfectly still, and I'm going to look for your lower body to just separate from the upper body like this. So if you look at these two right here, now yours is a little less motion, but a good firing capability. And this is pretty solid right here, although pay attention to what happens to the hip here. When he does this, notice how the hip tends to actually reverse a little bit. Again, that's giving me a hint that there could be a bit of a problem over here. He turns way better going this way than he does going this way. Do you do yours again there? So if you look at Pierce's, his is very much, very good. Just the same amount of rotation on both sides. Maybe not quite the mobility, but definitely a good firing pattern there. So that's important in terms of your downswing motion. So you guys know, being good golf instructors, that when I'm working on path and plane, it's my lower body being able to separate that drops the club into what we call the slot. If I'm having problems with my path and plane, it's directly related to this area. So this is a good test for that.
Something that we talk about so often in the videos is the ability to have this separation, to start that downswing with the lower body, which gets, as you mentioned there, Dave, gets that golf club in the right path on the way down.
It does. And some simple things you can do to try that is, think of just like throwing a ball. If you're going to throw a ball, you would have your back kind of sideways. I would step with my lower body first and then throw the ball. So that's a good way to almost practice the golf swing, is just get a tennis ball out and throw it against the wall or something like that.
We often see people, because we do these screens ourselves, and we often see that people, when they go to move the lower body, everything moves together, or they go side to side like this. And
that's right.
I've seen good players do this as well. Real good players do this. But when you get this movement here, and as you said, then it's like kind of throwing that baseball like that, isn't it? The whole lot moving together.
So, and you bring up a good point, because even those of you at home that might struggle, you might have a movement that's more like this, more of side to side. You might be just locked. You can't separate, and you're moving both together. Those can show up in the golf swing. People that can't separate their lower body, sometimes they can be steep, more over the toppers.
Very upper body dominant.
Very upper body dominant, so that can be a factor for that. So very important, that lower body, being able to separate that. That's a major power source in the golf swing, as you guys know. So the next phase up, let's go back up again, and let's do the same test, but let's do torso rotation. So this time, I don't want to see the belt buckle moving at all. I just want to see how your shoulders separate here. Can you separate them as well? So good. So I'm really looking at the belt here, pretty good here. Yours is actually moving just a little tiny bit, so I'd slow you down a little bit. Good, just nice smooth movement. So again, a little bit of movement here as well. That belt buckle should be frozen. Now for those of you at home, you might find this. When you try and move this one, you might be moving everything. It might be difficult for you to disassociate. So I'm really looking for disassociation. That can show up on the backswing and the downswing, and very important when I'm working on path, plane, all these type of things, right?
Absolutely.
So you'll get good players. I mean, we deal with a lot of elite level tour players come in here, and we'll do these same tests on them, what you've tried at home and what you guys are doing here, and they'll fail. There's very few tour players I've ever tested that are perfect on these tests. So you don't have to be perfect to be a great player. But as an instructor, I need to know how you move so that when I'm watching your golf swing, I don't try and make a change that can't happen.
Absolutely.
Because because then you're going to go down a track of, hey, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be very happy with me as the golf instructor as a result.
Definitely. We see it. We get people come to us for lessons, and they've been beat up on the same technique issue for years, multiple different lessons, multiple different YouTube videos.
That's right.
Can't sort out the problem, and then we can tell them straight away with this, within 10 seconds, well, guess what? You're not going to be able to do that because you can't move your hips in this way, or your torso in this way, or, you know, your arms can't extend upwards. So, you know, things that you're trying to achieve, you're banging your head against that wall effectively because your body cannot change it. So
you're right.
Change that first.
You're right. So, you know, that brings up a good point, is that the hips, to me, they're a key part of this golf swing. So there's always this connection. You know, power comes from the ground up. We use the ground to generate power, and it goes through the pelvic area and then up into the torso. And the other test for the pelvis, especially with you, with knowing what your hips are doing, would be pelvic tilt. So if you guys kind of just watch me side on, and then you can follow along so that everybody at home can see. But basically what I want to see here is I want to see you arch your back as much as you can, and then you should be able to kind of round your back as much as you can. So watch my belt specifically. I'm arching it, and then I'm flattening my belt a lot. So I'm imagining that my pelvis is a bucket of water, and what I'm really doing is I'm pouring the water out of the bucket, and then I'm stopping the water from pouring by moving it into the bucket. Let's see how you guys do with that little test right there.
This looks really easy on camera to do, but believe me, we see a lot of different movements when we see this.
It does.
I get a lot of the shake and bake when I do mine, so I get the arch.
So there's the arch here. See that little bit of shake and bake, little bit of perturbation? So the movement pattern is quite good. Watch how this little bit of shake there. Let's see yours there.
Same.
So again, same thing, a little bit of shake and bake. And a lot of you at home that try this, you might feel that same shake and bake. You might actually be not able to do it. There are some people that will just stand up. There are some people that will just move their upper body because they don't have control of the pelvis. A lot of people go, well, why would I need that in the golf swing? Why would I need to be able to do that? Well, believe it or not, if you've watched any of these incredible slow motion videos of guys like Rory McIlroy, who's on TV every week right now, and, you know, we've been fortunate to screen Rory and to see his pelvis, and his is extremely fast. He generates a lot of speed for a small guy that has incredible, what we call fast twitch muscle fiber. He generates a lot of hip speed. But, you know, if you watch what Rory does and you watch his belt, what he'll do is he'll load into this hip. On the downswing, he has a little bit of squat where his knees load, and then you'll see the belt flatten out and the pelvis lift up through impact without his chest lifting up. There are a lot of people that lift up and they stand up in their golf swing. We call that early extension, as you guys know. But basically, what you want is you want the control of that pelvis, and you want to be able to have that pelvic tilt in your golf swing. That's how your hips are able to shift, transfer weight, and rotate at speed. And what Rory does better than anybody else in the world is he actually keeps the right hip a little bit high in his transition, gets into this left leg, and then he unwinds his hips when he's into the left leg. There are a lot of people that unwind their hips early, they spin out of the shot, and that becomes an issue. But again, you have to have good physical attributes in order to do this.
Absolutely.
If you don't have those physical attributes, it makes it very, very difficult.
And these are really simple things that you can check, aren't they? They really are. You can do these at home. But once you're armed then with the information, you can then take this to your coach and say, right, this is what I'm doing. How does this apply to my golf swing?
That's exactly right. And, you know, I mean, I'd encourage you to try these at home while you're watching this. Unfortunately, most of us will cheat when we don't have some set of eyes on us. So if there's a partner in the room or someone that can watch you and see whether you're cheating, have them do that. If not, we always suggest you find a TPI certified expert. You can do that on mytpi.com, our website. Click on the Find an Expert tab. Put in your zip code, your postal code, or the city that you live in, and you'll find guys that have been certified by us, like these guys, that can actually physically screen you, take you through these tests, and tell you how your body relates to your golf swing.
Absolutely. This sounds good, doesn't it? Right, so now we know that he's broke, effectively.
He's a little broke.
He's a little broke in the hips.
Can you fix me?
Shall we go and find out how this can portray into the golf swing, shall we?
I think what we should do now, let's go out on the range. Let's take a little bit of film, watch him hit a few golf balls. Maybe look at the video of that golf swing and point out a couple of things. See if some of these things might relate. And then from there, maybe we can talk a little corrective exercises, some things that, if you've got these problems, that you might be able to do just at home, in the gym, or even on the driving range.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, guys, so go to part 2. Click the link down below. Go to part 2 to find out whether his golf swing is working okay. Thanks for watching, guys.